So, welcome everybody. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Um, if you are not, welcome back. I felt very prompted to put up this video. As you can see in the description, it's about what happens when we die, when we pass. Um, and I felt like I should get it up before the new year. I'm sure there's reasons why. I'm sure there's probably many reasons why. But I felt like at least one of the reasons is because um, there's a lot of fear right now. There's a lot of fear in the world. There's a lot of fear in the United States. There's a lot of fear and worry and nervousness and trepidation and all of these things. And I feel like underlying so many of our fears is the fear of death. And so I feel like that's one of the reasons that I felt kind of moved or prompted to put this up and do it now. So this is actually something that I put at the beginning. I do orb mediumship, and when I do an orb mediumship session, I put it at the beginning of the recording. And the reason why is to give people a basic understanding of what happens and where orbs fit in to this scenario. So this is something that I talked about quite often, but not on the channel in this way. I've definitely covered, mostly on the channel in different ways on the Sunday show, but this is kind of an overall kind of like streamlined view of what happens. So, and also why we can't communicate, why it's hard to communicate with people who pass. And we'll go into that. If you're just a person that has a person pass and you're not a psychic or medium, or you're not kind of in touch with that side of yourself, why it's difficult to communicate, okay? So when our loved ones pass and the body is no longer viable, the spirit leaves the body. Now the spirit can leave the body when the body is kind of shut down enough. So that can be during a coma. It can be during, as they're getting ready to pass. Sometimes people will linger kind of for days or even weeks. And a lot of times they've left, they're gone because the body is shut down enough that the spirit can leave. And I think, and I'm not positive because I'm not a sciencey person. I think it has something to do with the electromagnetic field. Once it's shut down enough, I feel like the spirit can go or something like that. Anyway, so basically the spirit leaves, and when the spirit leaves the body, it's no longer limited to the five senses. So, and it's also, the spirit also vibrates and is at a higher vibrational frequency. So it vibrates higher and faster, right, than us in here in the physical body. Is kind of a slower and lower vibration. It's higher and faster. And it's out of the physical body, so it's not limited to just the five senses. It's out of all that. And so it's like an all access pass. They can see the spirit realm, they can see the heavenly realms, they can see the earthly realms, they can see us, they can see everything. We, on the other hand, are the ones that are limited. We're still in the physical body. So we are still limited to the five senses, okay? Now, the way that we kind of are able to communicate with our loved ones is incumbent upon us to grow ourselves outside of the five senses. And that means meditating, working on getting sensitive to energy, like working on our sensitivity and our sensitivity to being able to feel and be able to sense energy. being able to notice and get telepathic messages, which is where a lot of meditating comes in, because when you meditate, everything in your mind kind of slows down and there's room for telepathic messages to come in. And I'll get to that in just a second. Or you're opening your third eye or opening your crown chakra to be able to use mediumship, right? So those are ways that we can kind of use ourselves and move sort of outside of the five senses. Because when we're locked in to the five senses, that's our reality. We have to be locked in this realm to have the experience we're having. It's how we connect with the physical realm. You have to be in a physical body, and you have to have the senses to be able to interact with this realm in this way. And this is what we're here to do, right? And by the way, this is one of the only, if not the only, realm where you have to kind of be born into it and then die to get out, because you have to be in a physical form to have this experience. Other places, it's not that way. Other realms and other experiences we have are not, it's not that way. This is unique. And it really, I always think of it as kind of, we're like the Indiana Jones of, of spirits. We're very, very adventurous. And this is a very unique experience, right? So we're locked into the five senses. And so those are some options that we have to kind of move out of our five senses to be able to sense, bring in, have conversations with our loved one, right? And by the way, they're not hiding from us. They're here. And if we want to connect, they want to connect with us. Think of it as like a ball player in a ball game gets injured or is tapped out of the game, and they're sitting on the sidelines and watching the game, and all they want is for their teammates to do well and win the game. And that's exactly how they are with us. They just want us to do well and win the game. And if connecting with them will help that, they're in. They're all in, right? They want that for us. So yeah. So anyway, the other way we can connect with them is ways they have figured out to connect with us here. However, that is also incumbent upon us, because we're the ones that have to see it and recognize it and then believe it. Okay. Some of those ways are blending with birds, butterflies, other animals. They tend to be animals that fly, though. And insects that fly. Hummingbirds. That's my mom's hummingbirds. Dragonflies. There's all kinds of ways. Dropping physical things, coins, feathers. These are ways they have figured out to let us know they're okay, right? And that's the main thing, is they just want us to know, I'm okay. You go on and win the game. I'm here. And we'll see each other again. Don't worry about it. So those are some ways they have figured out to connect with us. But often what happens is either we may recognize it but then dismiss it, or we may not be awake and aware because we're in grief. We're not aware. So sometimes those kinds of things we can notice maybe a year later or months later, because we're not in that heaviness of grief. We're kind of coming out of it and we're able to kind of be in the moment again. And let me explain how they do this, at least the ones with the flying, the birds and things like that. I'm on the fence about how they actually do I know something about how they do coins and feathers and things like that, but how they do let's just say a butterfly, what they would do is they would blend their energy with that of the butterfly and fly it in your direction or make you aware of it. At the same time, send you a telepathic message telling you, this is my energy. I'm here. Like, this is me, that kind of thing. So you put the two together. For you, it's just an experience of, I know I keep seeing that butterfly, but for some reason, I think that's my mom, or I think that's a sign from my mom. It comes in that way. but that's how they do it. And when you have these experiences, what is most important, and again, incumbent upon us, right? Because we're the ones that are limited, is to go back to the feeling and go back to the moment that it happened. Because once you get past that moment, your mind's going to try to undo it. Your mind's going to come in and say, that's ridiculous. How could that be? Why do you think that? You're going crazy. Your mind will come in and undo that because that's your ego. That's your ego that wants to keep you safe. And so it's going to come in and try to put logic around it. And that's how it works. So you have to go back to that moment and remember how it felt in the moment, because that's when the thing happens. When you get past that moment, it's in your memory, it's in your mind, the physical mind, right? Your physical self, and your ego starts to take over. So you have to go back to that exact moment. And that's the other thing, is that we're only connecting in the present, right? We don't connect. We can get telepathic messages, but even those messages are in the present. They're here and now. They're not like a thought or a memory. It's different. It's a different kind of communication coming in. And that's, again, why you kind of try to quiet the mind a little bit every day, and you'll start to get those telepathic messages, whether it's just telling you this song on the radio is for you, or this message is for you. You'll start to pick up on things like that. But it takes practice, right? Again, it's incumbent upon us, then it's incumbent upon us to believe it when it happens. And that's usually the part that's the hardest, because that's really us. It's all us. It's all us at that point. They can't really do anything about it at that point. We have to just believe it. And so if something like that happens to you, another one is dreams, and I'll talk about that in a second, but if that happens to you, just believe it. Believe it, because then it will happen again. And it will happen again, and it will happen again, because once they realize they have figured out a way in, they will repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And so and then the coins and like seeing numbers and things like that, that's more of them saying, notice this, and this is from me, or notice this has to do with me. It's kind of a telepathic message as you see the object. Now, how they get the object, where they get them, I'm on the fence about that. I don't know. I've had a couple of experiences that have told me maybe a few ways that they do it, but I'm not 100%. But that's how they do that. And then there's dreams, where you have a visitation dream, where you're talking to them or having a conversation, or you realize that they've passed, but here they are, and you're like, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? I thought you were gone, or whatever. But a couple of hallmarks for those is that one is it doesn't shake like a regular dream. You keep thinking about it. It stays with you for days. It has a different feeling to it. It feels real in a way that your dreams just don't. It doesn't fade like a dream normally fades. It stays with you. And even months and years later, you can recall it. That is a visitation dream. The other hallmark that sometimes happens, not always, but sometimes happens, is that in the dream, you might be very, very emotional, but they're not. They're happy to see you and they're smiling and stuff, but they're not emotional like you are. And part of it is because of that all access pass, right? They can see it all. They're like, yeah, I'm just in the next room, where you can't see me, but I'm there, and it's so obvious. And why are you so emotional when I'm just right here? But that's part of that, is because they have this kind of all access pass, and we are the ones that feel like, I lost you. Where did you go? It was, and so that's that. So that's another hallmark of that kind of thing. For them, they're having a very different experience when they pass. It's really like the world opens up, and it's like, oh yeah, there's this, and here's my family and friends, and here's everybody. And when you see them again, because their baseline personality that animates the body, that's them. So they are themselves. what happens when we have a physical form and we come into this physical realm, and especially if we're here for a long time, the world beats us up, right? We have a lot of story that we add to ourselves, and past experiences and things that went wrong and regrets we have. And I mean, we have all of this stuff, baggage just from a life, even a good life. You still have stuff that you wish you did better or whatever. Um, and so our baseline personality gets obscured and gets kind of lost in it a little bit. But if you basically think of your family member, or your pet, because pets are part of this too, your family member or your pet on their happiest, healthiest, most joyful, unburdened day, that's who you're going to find. Okay, that's who you're going to find. Um, and so, and if they were never that in their lifetime, imagine them as that, because that's what you're going to find. Um, the heaviness and the ego stuff it's mostly all ego stuff, so much ego stuff. It's all connected to this, person we are in the flesh and blood here. That pretty quickly drops away. It's used as a lesson, and we take things from it that are very, very important, but the stuff drops away pretty quick, and we go back to this kind of baseline person that we are, the spirit that we are. And so that's the person or the pet you will find on the other side, when you meet again. Now, there is a reason to mourn, right? Even though we know this, and I work with this every day, and I've had my own experiences, so I know this to be the case. But even though I know this, there's still a mourning that goes into losing somebody, losing a pet. And the mourning part is this, that even though you're going to see each other again and that it's going to be okay, the experience you're having with you here in the physical and them here in the physical with you is unique, and it's also very comforting to have our spirit family here with us in the flesh. I can hold you, I know you're here, you're with me. When they leave, and that physicalness, and that's the way we interact, right, with this environment is through our senses. And when they're not reachable through the senses, it's something to mourn. It's something to, when you lose that physicalness, that's really what we're mourning. Especially if we have this knowledge of, I know they're okay, and I know they're there, and I know they're on the other side, but I miss that, right? I miss that physicalness. So there still is something to mourn. And so mourning is still very important. But the main thing is that none of us die. None of us die. We come in to have an experience. And part of, there's a lot of reasons why people come to have this experience. Like I said, we're very adventurous spirits. There's a lot going on in the earth realm now, so people may be here for different reasons for that. But it's also, to learn, but it's also to experience cause and effect, using free will, having relationships, overcoming obstacles, overcoming challenges, and doing it all through love. That's always kind of the goal. That's kind of the winning, strategy, is doing this all through love, or through the eyes and the actions and the words of love. Trying our best to do that, right? The other part of kind of winning the game, or the other part of, if we're using like a video game, if you had the magic wand of the video game, it's knowing that you're a spirit having a human experience. That's the magic wand. It doesn't make everything perfect, but it certainly does make things easier. It gives you access to wisdom and understanding that you just don't have when you don't know that. Once you know that, and you can link in some way, even if you feel like I'm not that, psychic, or I'm not that, intuitive. If you just have that knowledge of I'm a spirit having a human experience, what could this be teaching me? Or what it just makes life make sense in a different way. And it takes away the hard edges. That's the way I always think of it. My connection to the spirit realm, my connection to spirit, and my knowledge of understanding that I'm a spirit having a human experience here, it takes away the rough edges of life. It's still hard. I still have days I'm just like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed. It's stupid here. I still have, everybody has those days still. Um, but it softens it, and it makes those dark tunnels a little shorter, because we all go through them. We all have, even if you're psychic, you still have to go through stuff, and you still have surprises. You still have things pop up. You cannot know everything. Because I'm here to have this experience too. And like anybody else who has psychic abilities, they're here to have a human experience. And part of the human experience is not knowing what's around the corner, not knowing what's going to happen. A lot of readers, in fact, will go to other people to get information about themselves, because it's really hard to get information on your own story in that way. In the moment, when you're going through things, you can always tap in, and you always have that access. And that's what I love, is that you have that access. But the start of that, though, is knowing I'm a spirit having a human experience. And when my friends and family and my pets, when their human experience is over, their spirit goes on. We all go on. We do not die. There's no such thing. The body dies. The body is no longer viable. It's a broken down car. It doesn't work anymore. And so you exit. But they're accessible to us. And like I said, they're not hiding. They're not hiding. It's just that we're encumbered, we're limited to the five senses, and they are outside of that at a different vibrational frequency, right? That we cannot perceive with our five senses. And to perceive them and perceive that, we have to move outside of it. And it's also a type of focus as well. It is something that can be learned. I know, me, myself included, lots of people have classes and things teaching this, because it's learnable. You can do it. To work on your abilities so that you have these sensitivities, and you kind of learn that it's a type of concentration and focus that helps you to perceive your loved ones on the other side. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope this helps you to kind of understand what happens, but also that you're not being kept away or kept apart from your loved one, but that it is incumbent, I'll say it again, on us to either grow outside of the five senses, to perceive in a different way, or to be alert and aware to what they may be sending us. And then, if it happens, to believe it. That's the main thing, to believe it when it happens. And if you start to disbelieve it, go back to the moment that it happened, because that's the reality. That's real. I think it's Brian Weiss who says that the feeling is the truth, the mind is the lie. The mind is what kind of undoes everything, but that feeling, that knowing, that's the truth. Okay. And I hope you felt that in this video as I was explaining all of this to you. And I hope that it helps to ease that fear that so many have of death or death of loved ones. When you can lose that fear, or even just lessen that fear, you live differently. You live a little more bravely, right? There's a bravery there that comes in. And so I hope this is what this does for you. Okay. Have a great new year. Have a great new year. And if you know somebody who needs this video, send it to them. If you don't think they'll watch a video, just tell them what's in the video. Tell them what I've told you and give them that information. And there's a car honking now. So I guess that means I should go. All right. I'll see you guys again. Bye-bye.